Hello there. Tonight's shave, we're going to be using my Ever-Ready 500 PBT Pure Badger. Is what that PBT stands for, but this has an 18 millimeter golden nib Finest F2 knot in it. I'm going to set that to the side to soak now. I like to show my brushes dry, my badgers, because they look better than when you get water in them. Some of them are stiffer than others, and when they absorb water they shrink and stuff like that. But anyway, we'll set that there to dry, and we're going to be talking about Yulay Spiced Mahogany. Now, show you her packaging once again. That's absolutely beautiful. Now I've got it wrote down on a piece of paper here. Yulay's description of this soap briefly is described as a deep woody scent with notes of tonka bean to round out the darker, more sensuous patchouli, cedarwood, and oak moss. There are added spices of cardamom, vanilla, bourbon, and allspice. Well, what I can say is the blend of all that, I really don't get any of those spices individually, but the blend of this soap is lovely. There's a distinct earthiness to it, but there's underneath that, there's kind of a freshness. It reminds me a lot of like the woodsy type places, the floor of a forest. Just there's there's a sharpness to it, but also it's called spiced mahogany, and I love the color of it because I am a guitar builder, amateur. I just do it because I love to build them, and I use Honduran mahogany a lot. And this is really close to the color, the natural color of Honduran mahogany. But the scent also actually reminds me of that wood. I don't know if it is a distinctiveness of the scent or whether the name spiced mahogany with the woody notes that are in the background of this soap puts that in my head. But when I look at the color of the soap, when I think of working mahogany and stuff like that, this really reminds me of that wood. But it's also a wonderfully masculine, wonderfully earthy, but there's a freshness underneath all of it. It's just a really complex and what I would say a really luxurious type of scent. And the thing of it is with Monica Gilliam's soaps, that is the thing that I love the very most about her soaps. Yes, it's a wonderful soap, and yes, the lather is wonderful, and all of that. But the way that she formulates a scent. Now, I realize that there are a lot of different soap makers out there right now that are pushing out fabulous scents, okay? But that doesn't take away from them, and it doesn't take away from her. I really think that the more that I look at artisan soaps, the more that I understand that the way that the artisan approaches a scent is really distinctive to that person. And these scents are absolutely top-notch. They are wonderfully complex, and that's one of the things, you know, there's a lot of talk about this artisan soap or that's the artisan soap and what makes a good artisan soap and all of that kind of deal. And I really think that you cannot just go on the different characteristics of the soap itself as far as, and there's nothing wrong in the Yulay soaps. As far as I'm concerned, the performance of this soap is top notch, and I could name you quite a few people who believe the same. But you have to add also things like the scent profile, and because I really think that there's a very huge amount of personality that goes into how an artisan crafts a scent. There's several that I want to try. One that's been around for a long time that I've never tried is How to Grow Mustache Phoenix Artisans. I've never tried that, frankly, just because there's so many stupid numbers of soaps out there. But Douglas is known for a certain way with scents, and I'd really like to try his, just because I really think you get a lot of the artisan's personality out of how they craft a scent, and Monica's personality really shines through in the way that these scents are crafted. She has so many of them, and I don't know if she was a perfumer before she was a soaper or what the deal is with that, but what I can tell you is that there's a very adventurous, a very sophisticated type of feeling when I start sampling her scents and trying to describe them. Very complex and very well thought out. You can tell. I can tell when I shave with it, when I smell it, and when I put it on my face and all that. That she didn't just slap a bunch of scents together and hope to get lucky. There was a definite design in the scent of this soap, and she probably had a whole bunch of prototypes that just they weren't quite there. And, till she got to this. You can tell it. When you start trying to evaluate the scent, you can tell whether or not that artisan, whether it was something they planned out and took their time with it. And her scents are so carefully crafted. They feel that way to me, and I absolutely love them. Now, on the face, the scent of this soap, when it lathers in the bowl, it mellows, and I don't mean it as far as scent strength, but the scent profile becomes kind of completely blended, and there is less of all the individual types of scents that you pick up, and it all more becomes kind of one thing, and it's just lovely. The strength on the base is about a 6, and that's just me. For somebody else it could be a 5, somebody else could be a 7 or 8, but it's wonderful, it's lovely, it's definitely present. Wonderful soap. Okay, the razor I'm using tonight is my 51 the Victor, one of my very favorite blades. Just a lovely scent. Her soaps are velvety smooth on the face. Under the edge of my straight razor, it's just lovely stuff. Now this 51 the Victor blade is kind of magic for me. It's one of those razors where I know just as soon as I pick it up, I'm going to get a fabulous shave with it. And it never, straighten that out, never disappoints in that regard. Just a lovely razor. In every respect. Now I got soap on this hand, and it's the razor's trying to slide all over my fingers because the soap is so slick. When I first tried these, I got some samples from Ray Popen and talking with Monica, because when I first tried a couple of the soaps that I first tried, they weren't very slick. And in conversation with Monica, she said, yeah, a couple of the samples that she had sent Ray, and of course she watched the videos, so she knew what I was using and where they came from. She said were some of her very first attempts at those scents. And there's a lot of things, a lot of ingredients in a soap that affect their slickness. And she said she hadn't got her slickness down as well with those. And boy, I can tell you that having gone on to sample a lot more of her soaps, and hopefully it'll just continue to get better and better. But having gone on to sample more of her soaps, I can tell you that they are good and slick now with no problems whatsoever. Those first few that I tried, they were kind of like outliers. Everything else that I have tried is just nice and slick and wonderful in that regard. And there's a glide to the razor. As I'm shaving, that just makes the pass really silky smooth. Love this soap. Tiffany and Cosmo. Asked a question on wet shaving videos earlier this evening. You know, what one soap, razor, brush, aftershave, etc. would you take if you were going on vacation and you could only take one? And she tagged about 80 people. And I was one of them. And the razor that I chose was this one, and I already had it out. I made a short video of my response to her. And I already had it out, and it was said, Mike, shave with me. You know it'll be good. And I said, okay, why not, buddy? Come to Papa. You know? And I'm glad I did. Wonderful, wonderful razor. Always wonderful shave with this razor. Just lovely. Now, one more pass because I'm having so much fun. This soap is so wonderful. And I tell you, I chose Razor Rock Triple X. That's a really good choice. That's one of my very favorite soft soaps there is. But, you know, I don't have a big tin of any of Monica's soaps, or even a small tin. All I've got is samples. And I'm not complaining. I'm grateful for the samples. But, I mean, I could have easily chosen one of Monica's soaps. This one here, or her Fougere. Because they are... That's one of the reasons I chose the Razor Rock. The Razor Rock has got a wonderful slickness to it. It's got a lovely scent to it. And this has got a wonderful slickness. It's got a wonderful glide. And the scents are incredible. Wow. Almost got myself with that square point there. That's something you got to watch out for. Square point is my favorite. But he will get you if you don't pay attention. But back to this soap, Monica's also offering some of her soaps in a 3.5 ounce tin for like $7. That's a really good price for 3.5 ounces of this soap. I've got a place right here that I keep opening over and over and over again. I try to kind of shave around it, but it's at a spot right here in that little divot that it's hard for me to miss and get the rest of my bottom lip. So I keep reopening it. But I just have to take the advice of my buddy Emmanuel Goldstein and not be a sissy and put some alum on it, some stick on it, and move on. I don't know where you heard that from. Anyway, that's no big deal. It's part of shaving. It's a part of shaving that, you know, there are things in this society, and I'm not trying to be political or do any social commentary or anything like that, but people have drifted away from certain things in society that once were common. Weight shaving is one of them, but I'm thinking of things like blacksmithing and stuff like that. Now most blacksmiths are like farriers and they shoe horses, and that's about it because they can't make a living any other way. But at one time, a blacksmith was an incredible artisan. Go down to Williamsburg or someplace like that where that kind of tradition is kept alive, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But there are, yeah, see, I got myself right there with that square point. Anyway, I have to alum that or put some styptic on that too. Anyway, things have gotten really easy, and I'm not, you know what? It's good that some stuff is easy. It's good that a man don't have to wake up 4 hours before daylight and go to bed, you know, get done working at 9 or 10 o'clock at night and all in order to survive anymore. It's good, you know, that we don't have to do that. Work really, now some people do, but for the most part, we're really demanding physical hours and things like that just to survive and all of that. That's a good thing, and I'm not knocking it. But there's a lot of things in society that people have given up for convenience, you know, or because they don't want to worry about a tiny little nick from a blade, so they'll use a really sad cartridge razor or an electric razor or something like that and miss the art that's involved in traditional wet shaving. It is an art. You know, we might not be artistic in any other way, but a man or even a woman can take traditional wet shaving tools like a straight or a DE and apply the principles of wet shaving to their shaves. I'm going to go with Old Spice with this. I think it'll match well. But they can apply all of that and actually take it to a high art personally and gain an incredible amount of satisfaction from it. And I just think that, you know, we've gained a lot with society and technology and stuff like that. We've given an awful lot up too. And I'm so glad that I found traditional wet shaving. If you're new to this hobby, stick with it. There's a lot of reward in it. If you've never tried it before, come in and test the waters. And I think you'll find it's a wonderful place to be. All right. God bless you. And I will talk to you later.